Bella, I guess, start out with being part of Brittany's ceremony, but also your defense. Maybe it was inspired by her, the defense you guys played.
Yeah, Nikki definitely told us, she said, if there's any game that you need to play the most unselfish and focused, game plan focused basketball, it's this game. You don't get a chance to do this and honor one of the best players, men's and women's history, at home. Like it's a home game. We're welcoming her home. So we definitely played for her tonight. Or today. Sorry, I guess it's like 3 o'clock. I don't know.
Bill, at the end of last week, Coach was talking about energy and execution and all that. What brought that tonight? Why? What got into y'all to kind of up your game in this game specifically?
Like I said, we really wanted to do it for BG and bring her home and honor her the right way. But also at the same time, we know that we're getting to the tail end of regular conference, and conference tournament and postseason are coming up. So we need to really figure out how to lock in and consistently do those things, have energy and effort, and execute the game plans.
Jana, you played back here behind the cameras. You played I think a season high in terms of minutes tonight. What was working well for you, and why do you think they kept you out there for so long?
I think that when I'm on the floor, I try to play as hard as I can, and so that's probably why I stayed out there tonight. We know the game plan. I know the game plan, and so we just stick to that, and I try to help my team as much as possible in that game plan.
Jana, Brittany was really just engaged with you guys, hugging you before the game, and she was in the huddle with y'all at the end and stuff. What was just maybe some of her comments or message to y'all?
I think Brittany is an incredibly special person. We are all inspired by her. So whatever she has to say, we're going to soak that in and we're going to use that. She was talking to us about coming together as a team, fighting hard, getting through all of the adversity, wins, losses, whatever it is, but just sticking together and also enjoying the moment that we're in. It's hard sometimes to really be grateful for where your feet are. And she was telling us to do that. And I think that spoke to a lot of us.
For either of you, how do you guys find the balance between pressure and motivation when you deal with a moment like this? Eventually there's so much going on pregame this whole week when she comes back to the program, but then you guys got to go out and play. How do you guys, stay kind of locked into the moment while also acknowledging the situation?
I feel like we really just took her advice. Like Jana said, she told us to be thankful for the moment and be present in the moment. And of course, there's a lot of pressure. We've been kind of on this back and forth win-loss streak. But in those losses even, we've had really, really bright spots. But we work every day, and we know that we're going to show up. We know those things are going to translate. So there's pressure there, but at the same time, we know we're going to go out and perform no matter what the circumstances.
Bella, y'all outscored them by 30 points in the paint. Was that something that y'all thought you could exploit going in, or was that just kind of what they were giving you?
We definitely talked about those matchups going in. They are not necessarily undersized, but I feel like we're evenly matched with them and maybe a little bit more physical. So, we ran those plays where we ran our power and was like, okay, we're going to pound the ball inside, get those inside looks, just because we knew we have people who finish really well down low.
Oh, hey, back here. I'm sure when y'all were kind of growing up, really starting to get into basketball, BG was here at Baylor. Did she kind of have any influence or maybe effect of the decision of both y'all ending up at Baylor, or kind of how she maybe influenced y'all's path here?
Personally, I've known of Brittany Griner since I was a child. I think she's really hardworking, and I love that about her. So, and when you hear Baylor, you think of Brittany Griner. So yeah, that was just kind of always in the back of my head when I was deciding I wanted to come here.
Yeah, and I would say the same. I remember being younger and I always loved basketball, but whenever I decided I wanted to be a dominant player and have the opportunity to come somewhere that has a really rich basketball history, that absolutely was a thought that crossed my mind. But I remember whenever I was really young, I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I don't know if I'm going to be that big, but I want to be as dominant as her. I want to be able to go out and make people alter their shots and block shots, rebound, run the floor. And I was like, maybe I can even dunk one day too, you know? But no, she's a once in a lifetime talent. So absolutely had an impact.
Anything else? Great. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Sick.
Nikki, did that live up to any expectations you had of the Brittany ceremony? I mean, just
It's
the emotion and everything.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I had expectations. I know that sounds strange. I just wanted to have a feeling. I just wanted there to be I sent a text to Mac and Dr. Livingstone yesterday and thanked them for supporting this weekend, and I thanked them for leading with love, because that's all I wanted. All I wanted was Brittany to feel loved by our team, by our university, by our community. And so it was emotional. It was emotional to see her tears. It was emotional to see her smiles yesterday. Whether this is healing or whatever, I just think she's a part of our family, and I'm so grateful that we were able to get this done, and I'm so thankful to all the people that helped make that happen.
Coach, did BG give you an especially motivating pregame speech? Because, you guys brought the energy, effort, seemed to be on that from the go today.
Yeah, I mean, our key to the game was energy, effort, and it was, I started the group of players that analytically has been our best defensive lineup all season long. And I thought that we needed to create energy based off our defense. And I thought that group, and I told them, I'm like, there's a reason, like, BG was National Defensive Player of the Year, amongst many awards, I know, but the best way to honor her was to compete at the defensive end with a high level of energy. And I thought that's what we did. We certainly made defensive mistakes. We're going to go back and look at the film and see that there were people standing open under the basket. But our ball pressure, our effort, we got tips, we sped them up, and so we created a lot of turnovers, and they just could never get comfortable. So we had moments we were good offensively. We had moments we weren't good offensively, but it didn't matter because we kept defending at a high level.
Nikki, those of us who covered Brittany know this about her, but I mean, she's obviously very gregarious personality. I saw her hugging the girls and in y'all's huddle after the game. What was just her message to your team?
I think before she really had talked about, hey, I know you guys have had some ups and downs lately, but it's time to do it together. And so I think she kind of challenged them, but in the most positive way that she could. And I think afterwards it was more celebratory. Like it was me saying, hey, our goal coming into this game was to honor your legacy by getting after it on the defensive end and having our best defensive performance of the season. And I thought we did that. And so I was just proud of them because I thought that was important. I thought it was important that you're not always going to make open shots. I thought Bella missed a lot of open shots tonight that oftentimes she makes, but I thought her defense was really, really good. And I think that's the one thing you control. You control your attitude, your energy, and your effort. Shots are going to go in, shots aren't going to go in, but I thought we were good on the offensive glass. I thought, we got a lot of tips. We kept them uncomfortable running their stuff, and there's such a high execution, screening action, move the ball, that when you disrupt stuff, you make them uncomfortable, and I thought we did that.
Nikki, kind of talking about that defensive lineup that you had today, is that something maybe we could see in the future? Obviously, Jana getting a lot of minutes tonight.
Yeah, Jana, I think Jana's been slowly earning minutes all season long. Sometimes she's had to give us shooting or energy. I know she's going to play with great pace. The one thing about Jana is she never gets tired. She just never gets tired. And so, I thought she got extra minutes in the first half because of Sarah's foul trouble. But I just think our tempo is better at the offensive end when she's in consistently. But she wasn't, it is more about, like, Bella elevates our defensive effort. She has in every game. It doesn't matter who she's in with. Her versatility, her physicality, her ability to guard multiple positions, switch actions. When she can get in actions and switch and keep people in front, and whether they're little quick guards like a Quinterly or they're, shooters like Wynn today, like, I just think she does the best job on our team of being able to be moved around. You got to go to post this possession. You got to go to point guard this possession. We've had her on Emily Ryan. We've had her on, and I'm not saying I'm going to put her up for the all defensive team. I'm not saying people are going to recognize, like, how she impacts us defensively, because so often it's rebounds, blocks, steals, all those things. But our analytics say we're a really good team when she's on the floor.
Coach in the back, Bella and Jana were both kind of talking about how growing up as basketball players, BG was someone they always knew when they thought of Baylor. How do you feel that she's not only influenced your team, but just female basketball players in general? Yeah,
I think, who had ever seen this 6'9", dunking, smiling, fierce in one moment, like, willing to get on the floor with little kids the next minute. I think as time has gone on, whether, like, the internet has changed everything. Social media has changed everything. The world's become smaller. People know who everybody is. They see highlights. It doesn't mean that Brittany Griner would have been more dominating than Lisa Leslie or Cheryl Miller or, some of these, like, true giants in our game. But I think in her era and the timing, she just was unique. And she was a unique human, and she was a unique basketball player. And so, she's the first player that we saw. We saw Candace Parker dunk in a game. It's not that we never saw a dunk, but Brittany was the first player that I can go back to, like, watching her in AAU. She's the first player I had ever seen catch it in the high post, take one dribble, and, like, dunk it with two hands. Like, it was different. It was effortless. It was not, hey, I got to steal and I got to break away and I can get my steps right and I'm going to dunk it. It was like, she can dunk with a baseline rip, with an offensive rebound putback. And she was kind of the first to be able to do that, or for us to see it. And so I think she was someone that if you were a young girl at that time, you were just watching, whether you were a guard or a post player, you just knew who she was. It's no different than Caitlin Clark today. Caitlin Clark is recognized because A, she's so darn good, but B, we're inundated in the most positive way with highlights of her and plays she makes and her pursuit of the NCAA scoring record and all these things. And so she's a conversation, she's a conversation. It's the face guarding. It's the, like we want to make villains and heroes out of people, but the reality is, we're doing that because we're seeing them. We're seeing them live. We're seeing them on highlights. We're seeing them in reels. And so I just think that's who BG was. She was someone that people paid attention to because she was so unique and special.
Coach, I guess when you coached against BG, when you're in the W, any stories come to mind and were you able to kind of reminisce with her?
So, truth be told, like, I didn't want to admit this when they asked this. Phoenix was a problem for us, So my first year in the league, we won the season series against every team in the WNBA except Phoenix. We went 1-2 against Phoenix. That year, Seattle won it. We went 2-1 against Seattle because our personnel matched up really, really well for theirs. But I never had size. My centers were 6'3". They were good rotational shot blockers, but not anyone that could. So we beat them once at our place, but I had to, over the 3 years I was there, try to figure out who can I go get in free agency, who can I trade for to be able to guard BG. And I remember even my first year in Connecticut, they came to Mohegan and we won the game. We beat them. But BG dunked in the game, like pick and roll, rolled to the basket, got the ball dropped to her, dunked. And it was just another basket. And it was so bizarre. It was like, I'm looking around, are people going to celebrate? I know it's on the road, but somebody just dunked. And so, we didn't have the ability. We had to double her. We had to mix coverages on her. But no, I probably have better. BG's just kind of a gentle giant. And so I have way more playing Phoenix Diana Taurasi stories than Brittany Griner stories. We just couldn't guard her. And it was the nature of, we didn't have, so when you played Brittany, you had to either have someone that could guard her one-on-one and make it tough. Like you weren't going to stop her, but make it tough. Or you had to have someone that could get her away from the rim. You had to have a Jonquel Jones. You had to have somebody to get her out of the lane. And fortunately, with defensive three, if you have a 5 player that can shoot her and draw her out of the lane, well, I had neither. And so that's why we struggled with them. But yeah.
You mentioned thanking Mac and Dr. Livingstone for their support in getting this together. I'm just wondering, how did the timeline sort of proceed? When did you realize this was something that was important for Baylor to do?
The first day I was hired. It's just a lot happened, like a trip to Russia and an incarceration, and that made it even more challenging. But, I put it in the air the day I was hired. Javon Overshone and I had started talking about it early May. And BG and I she reached out to me the day I got hired and said how excited she was that, I was at Baylor and how excited she was to come back, and started giving me, you need to go to health camp, you need to do the X, Y, and Z, and kind of all the ins and outs of Waco. And then obviously that winter things changed. And so when she came back, it became a how, when is she going to be comfortable? Like no one understands truly what she went through and what her timeline was going to be to heal. And, pretty remarkable that she played, as many games as she did in the W last summer. But this timing just worked, and we weren't sure with USA Basketball, and we wanted it to be a TV game, and we wanted a lot of things, but a lot of logistics. I think as much as there was a lot of conversation surrounding it, this has been probably, Juliana, a 5-week just storm of trying to get things organized and get things done. And so definitely want to give Juliana a big shout out for what she did in terms of leading this project, but from my staff to marketing and Aaron Bean and Michaela Sullivan and you name it on down the line. This was a all hands on deck type of week for sure. But there have been a lot of meetings and a lot of between BG's agent and the Phoenix Mercury people, and there was just a lot of things, a lot of balls in the air for a long time. So I don't know that there's a perfect timeline. I can give you one. I just know that, we had spoken again about it when we saw her with the Wings this summer. I put it back in the air again this summer. But I'm not sure, sometimes I probably speak out of turn because, we know that Michael Johnson has a track and RG3 has a statue. But I'm not sure Baylor has ever done what we did today. And I just, if you talk about Baylor Mount Rushmore, Brittany Griner's on it. And so I think we really honored her in a super special way. So really proud of everyone associated with this university and what we were able to accomplish.
What can a win like this do moving forward? Maybe getting 2 straight on Wednesday for the first time since the 14th.
All right, stop it. Stop with the 2 straight. I just want to keep playing well. It's not about who we play. It's not about what style they play. It's about we have to make our mark the way we did to start this game. We set the tone. We dictated the pace. And that's up to us night in and night out. The game plan might be different. How we guard people might be different. Who we have to take away versus who we're going to allow to get some shots. How we guarded Bailey Maupin wasn't the same as how we guarded Logan Johnson. We got to be dialed in. We've got to understand that we're in the time of the year where execution is everything, and preparing the right way. And preparing isn't just on the court. It's are you studying your scouting reports? Are you understanding our playbook? Are we running things right? Do we understand why we run things? Because the margin for error is so much smaller as you get closer to March when the pressure builds. And right now we're playing for seeding in the conference tournament, and long before the NCAA tournament, we are playing for seeding for the conference tournament and our ability to go through and make a run in Kansas City. So, it's about not just winning 2 in a row. It's about playing well. It's about competing at a high level. It's about being dialed into game plan. It's about being there for your teammate. It's about making the right pass, the right read. It's about setting a great screen. I mean, those are all things that impact winning. And so it goes back to, like, are we willing to be dialed into the little things? And, I thought we had moments that we weren't, but we had way more moments that we were. Thank you.